"You're not good enough for our son," they said. "Now they work for me. You come from nothing, you have nothing, and you'll always be nothing." My boyfriend's mother, Eleanor, declared this while his father, Richard, stood silently beside her in their marble foyer. "Our family comes from old money. We have a legacy to protect. You would tarnish everything we've built." The words hung in the air of their mansion. For 2 years, I'd loved their son Liam with all my heart. I never imagined his parents saw me as a threat to their precious bloodline. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I simply looked at these people who measured human worth by bank statements and family trees, and felt something inside me shift forever. "I understand," I said, my voice eerily calm as I turned and walked away. 7 years later, their precious family company was on the verge of collapse. And when they came begging for help, I gave them exactly what they deserved. Minimum wage jobs scrubbing the floors of the empire I built. Justice must be served and arrogance must be humbled. You won't believe how the tables turned. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. My name is Sophia. I grew up in a loving but modest home where we measured wealth and laughter around the dinner table, not digits in bank accounts. My parents were teachers who taught me that character mattered more than currency. Then I met Liam at college. He was studying business. I was studying design. He was kind, funny, and completely unaware of his family's wealth until he brought me home for Thanksgiving. Sophia thinks she's found the perfect man, but his family's wealth and prejudice threaten to tear them apart. How far will they go to protect their legacy? The Montgomery estate took my breath away, not in a good way. It felt like a museum, cold and perfect. Eleanor Montgomery looked me over like I was a stain on her Persian rug. Richard barely acknowledged me beyond a stiff handshake. "You're studying art?" Eleanor said over dinner, making it sound like a disease. How quaint. Liam squeezed my hand under the table. "Sophia's incredibly talented. She's already won several design competitions." "Liam's grandfather built our company from the ground up," Richard said, not looking at me. "He'll be taking over as CEO after graduation. It's a position that requires a certain caliber of partner." The weekend was a nightmare of subtle insults and not-so-subtle hints about suitable matches from good families. When Liam dropped me off Sunday night, he looked devastated. "I'm so sorry," he said. "They're snobs, but they'll come around." They never did. 2 years later, after Liam and I moved in together, his parents issued their ultimatum. The parents aren't just disapproving. They're prepared to destroy the relationship completely to protect their social standing. The confrontation happened on a Tuesday evening. Eleanor and Richard showed up at our apartment unannounced. Liam was working late. "This has gone on long enough," Eleanor said, sweeping past me into our modest living room. "We've been patient, but you're still here." Richard remained standing, his eyes cold. "We've arranged a marriage for Liam with Abigail Kensington. Her family owns Kensington Industries. It's a merger that makes sense for everyone." My heart stopped. Liam would never agree to that. "Liam will do what's best for the family business," Eleanor said. "He just doesn't know it yet. The parents have arranged a marriage for their son with a wealthy heiress. How far will they go to force this merger?" Then she delivered the final blow. "You come from nothing, you have nothing, and you'll always be nothing. Our family comes from old money. We have a legacy to protect. You would tarnish everything we've built." I stood there, realizing this wasn't just disapproval. This was a calculated elimination of what they saw as a problem. The next day, Liam came home looking broken. "They've threatened to disinherit me and fire my entire team if I don't end things with you," he whispered. 30 people would lose their jobs because of me. I made the only choice I could. "Then we're done," I said, my heart shattering. Liam chooses his employees over love, leaving Sophia completely alone and heartbroken. Instead of falling apart, I channeled my pain into purpose. I took every bit of savings I had, $8,000 from working 3 jobs through college, and started my own design company. I recorded every interaction with the Montgomerys from that point forward. When Eleanor coincidentally showed up at client meetings to sabotage my pitches, I recorded it. When Richard's company sent threatening legal letters about copyright infringement on designs that were clearly mine, I documented everything. The Montgomerys are actively trying to destroy Sophia's new business. How low will they stoop to keep her down? I discovered they'd been blacklisting me with all their business connections. Every time I landed a major client, mysterious complaints would surface, or better offers would suddenly appear, stealing my contracts away. But they made one crucial mistake. They underestimated me. While they were playing dirty, I was building something real. My design started gaining attention for their quality and innovation, not just my connections. I compiled everything, the recordings, the threatening letters, the evidence of their sabotage, into what I called the Phoenix File. This wasn't just about building a business anymore. It was about proving that worth isn't inherited, it's earned. Sophia isn't just defending herself. She's building an arsenal for future revenge while creating a legitimate business empire. What the Montgomerys never understood was that their cruelty had created a monster. The quiet, humble girl they dismissed was transforming into the most formidable businesswoman they would ever encounter. I focused on one niche they'd always ignored: sustainable luxury. While Montgomery Industries kept making the same outdated products, I innovated. I found manufacturers who used recycled materials and paid living wages. Sophia finds the Montgomery family's business blind spot. How will she use their own arrogance against them? My big break came when a major hotel chain wanted a complete eco-friendly redesign. The Montgomerys laughed at the concept, until I landed the $3 million contract. Suddenly, I wasn't just a nuisance, I was competition. Richard Montgomery himself called me, offering to acquire my little operation for a fraction of its worth. I'd rather burn it to the ground than sell to you, I told him calmly. That's when I knew I had them worried. I started hiring their best junior employees, offering them better pay and actual respect. The brain drain began slowly, then became a flood. Sophia isn't just competing with the Montgomerys. She's systematically dismantling their company from the inside by stealing their talent. 7 years after they destroyed my relationship with Liam, Montgomery Industries was in trouble. Their outdated business model, combined with my company's rapid growth, had eroded their market share. Then the recession hit and they started drowning. I got the call on a Tuesday morning. "Ms. Evans?" Richard Montgomery's voice was strained. "We need to talk." They came to my office. The same people who once told me I'd never amount to anything, now sitting across from me in my sleek, modern headquarters. The Montgomerys come crawling to Sophia for help. How will she handle seeing her former tormentors brought low? "Your company, it's remarkable," Eleanor said, her voice tight. "We never realized what you've built here," Richard continued. "It's exactly what our company needs. A merger could save hundreds of jobs." I let them squirm for a moment before responding. "I'm not interested in a merger, but I might be interested in an acquisition." The color drained from their faces. "You want to buy Montgomery Industries?" Richard asked, horrified. "No," I said calmly. "I want to buy the building, the inventory, and the client list. The Montgomery name is worthless to me." Sophia doesn't want to merge. She wants to completely take over and erase the Montgomery legacy entirely. The acquisition made headlines. Rags to riches entrepreneur buys out failing Montgomery empire. The business reporters loved the story. The poor art student who became wealthy enough to buy out her former critics. But I had one condition they hadn't anticipated. At the final signing, I slid 2 employment contracts across the table. "These are for you," I told Eleanor and Richard. They stared at the documents in disbelief. "You expect us to work for you?" Eleanor gasped. "Sophia offers the Montgomerys jobs in her company. But what kind of positions is she offering the people who once called her nothing?" "Not just work for me," I clarified. "You'll be part of our facilities team. Richard, you'll be responsible for building maintenance. Eleanor, you'll oversee cleaning operations." They looked at me as if I'd sprouted a second head. "You can't be serious," Richard sputtered. "I'm completely serious," I said. "The alternative is watching your company get liquidated and your employees scattered to the wind. At least this way, they keep their jobs." The humiliation on their faces was everything I'd dreamed of for 7 years. But what choice did they have? Their arrogance had left them with nothing. Sophia isn't just hiring them. She's giving them the most humiliating jobs possible, while positioning herself as the savior of their employees. The first month was deliciously awkward. Richard Montgomery, who once ran a multi-million-dollar company, now spent his days checking HVAC systems and fixing leaky faucets. Eleanor, who used to host charity galas, now inspected janitorial supplies. I made sure they received the same treatment they'd given me, constant reminders of their place. The roles are completely reversed, but Sophia isn't done yet. What other humiliations does she have planned? Then I discovered something shocking in the Montgomery Company records. They'd been illegally dumping manufacturing waste for years. The fines would bankrupt them completely. I had a choice: expose them and destroy what remained of the company, or use the information more strategically. I chose strategy. I called them into my office and showed them the evidence. You have two options, I said. I report this to the EPA, and you both go to prison. Or you sign over your remaining assets to create an environmental cleanup fund. They signed. The Montgomery fortune, built over 3 generations, was gone in an afternoon. Sophia discovers criminal activity that could send the Montgomerys to prison. But she chooses a more poetic form of justice instead. Eleanor came to see me alone after the environmental fund was established. The proud socialite was gone, replaced by a tired, defeated woman. I was wrong about you, she said, not meeting my eyes. You were always better than us. Where's Liam? I asked, the question I'd been holding for 7 years. She looked away. He married Abigail Kensington. They divorced after 2 years. He lives in Europe now, wants nothing to do with the family business. The news hit me harder than I expected. The boy I'd loved had escaped, but at what cost? Sophia finally learns what happened to Liam. Is there any chance for the relationship that was destroyed by his parents' prejudice? I'm not asking for forgiveness, Eleanor continued. I don't deserve it. But thank you for saving our employees. They didn't deserve to suffer for our mistakes. I looked at this broken woman and realized my revenge was complete, and emptier than I'd expected. You taught me something valuable, I said. You taught me that building people up creates stronger foundations than tearing them down. For that lesson, I thank you. It was the most devastating thing I could have said, acknowledging that their cruelty had ultimately made me stronger. In their final confrontation, Sophia realizes that revenge doesn't bring the satisfaction she expected. Today, my company is thriving. The Montgomery building now houses my corporate headquarters, but I've renamed it the Phoenix Center. Every employee knows they're valued for their talent, not their pedigree. Richard and Eleanor eventually retired. I gave them both modest pensions, not enough for their old lifestyle, but enough to live with dignity. Liam reached out last year. He's happy in Barcelona, running a small vineyard. We had coffee when I was there for business. 2 older, wiser people who'd both escaped the shadow of his parents. I'm married to David, a teacher who fell in love with me long before he knew about my success. We have a daughter who loves to draw, and I tell her every day that her worth has nothing to do with what others think of her. The Montgomery fortune is gone, but the people they employed still have jobs. And that, I've learned, is the only legacy that really matters.